Jane Fonda. This is a woman who literally sat on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun that was used to shoot down American planes. She now wants to lecture us on autocracy. Here she is talking about how this administration is quickly turning into an autocracy.
This is the end of our launch day. This is the 1st of October. I am so inspired because hundreds and hundreds of people have been calling and emailing us wanting to be added on to the committee for the First Amendment, people in the entertainment industry.
So Pete Hegseth, in case you don't know who that is, that would be the United States Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. Take a look.
Pete Hegseth spoke to U.S. military leaders from around the world to lay out his very retro vision for our armed forces. What?
This administration has done a great deal from day one.
Joe Rogan calls him out pretty accurately, by the way. He says nobody trusts Gavin Newsom. Check it out.
They don't have any faith in Gavin Newsom.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of funny because he wants to be president so bad.
That's true what it looks
But
like.
you can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice.
Emma Watson, Hermione Granger herself, the girl many of us had a harmless crush on.
It's such a violence and it's such a cruelty on people, and especially young people, I think, and especially women, to make them feel like they have no worth or like they haven't succeeded yet in life.
Welcome to Stay in the Fray podcast. I'm your host, Ryan. This is where headlines get hit hard, autocracy gets shredded, and the absurd are laughed at. If you want comfort, this isn't your place. If you want blunt and unfiltered, I'm your guy. Join me in the fray.
All you gotta do is just listen up.
Hey guys, welcome back. One of my biggest issues in society, as you've already gathered by the way that I've spoken over the last however many months, but it's this political climate and how the loudest people on the left have stopped debating ideas, and instead they're like changing the definition of words. Don't mean what they actually mean to them. Autocracy, violence, racism, fascism, fatphobic, misinformation. They throw them all around like confetti. No context, no logic, just emotional punctuation to make whatever they say sound profound. I can't call it a new strategy per se, but it's definitely one that keeps growing, and it's worrisome. If reality doesn't fit the narrative, they just rename reality. They don't win arguments, they rebrand them. A few years ago, they were banning books and deplatforming anyone who disagreed. Now, that same crowd that cheered censorship suddenly thinks we're living under a dictatorship because a couple of late-night hosts got benched. They say the word autocracy like they learned it yesterday, and they think it means I didn't get my way. Meanwhile, celebrities are calling marriage violent. The View is crying because the military wants soldiers who can actually run a mile, and Gavin Newsom is bragging that California's a top economy, while people are literally running away from his mess. This is what happens when the vocabulary of unhinged people becomes mainstream. When words stop meaning anything, lies start sounding reasonable to those who let it. So let's translate the delusion back into English with another episode. You like that? Another episode of They Really Said That. This is Stay in the Fray podcast. It is October the 13th, 2025. Let's roll. Hanoi Jane is back. Jane Fonda. This is a woman who literally sat on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun that was used to shoot down American planes and broadcast propaganda against U.S. troops. She now wants to lecture us on autocracy. Jane, you supported a communist regime, the very thing that breeds autocracy. You don't get to play freedom fighter after posing with their guns. Here she is talking about how this administration is quickly turning into an autocracy. Roll it, boys.
Hi, everybody. This is Jane Fonda. This is the end of our launch day. This is the 1st of October. I am so inspired because hundreds and hundreds of people have been calling and emailing us wanting to be added on to the committee for the First Amendment, people in the entertainment industry. What it shows to me is that our industry is ready to mobilize and to resist autocracy, to resist attacks on our fundamental freedoms. We're artists, we're creatives. Freedom of expression is essential to what we do. Many of our fathers and grandfathers fought wars to defend this right, and we can't just sit back and let this happen. And it's moving fast. This isn't a creeping totalitarianism. This is fast-moving consolidation of...
Shut up, Jane. I had to stop her. I mean, this is... God, what's been taken away? That right there is what happens when words leave the dictionary and end up in the echo chamber. Jane says we're living under an autocratic administration. Her evidence is that, like, Colbert got canned, and which, by the way, doesn't even go into effect until next year. Kimmel gets a week off. That's her smoking gun. That's fascism now. All the artists' rights are being taken away. And what does she do? Artist. Jane, people get fired every day. Networks make business decisions. When your ratings tank and you're spewing verifiable misinformation every day, every night, management's going to notice. That's not dictatorship. That's consequence. And let's talk about hypocrisy again. That's all I can do because that's all you people have. When Trump and every conservative voice across social media were systematically banned, no reason, no due process, where were you? You were silent. Not a single tear shed for the people who were actually censored. Now that your side's losing cultural ground in a massive way, suddenly you've rediscovered the First Amendment. You want to cosplay as some kind of free speech warrior. Jane, if we were in a real autocracy, you wouldn't be giving any interviews. You wouldn't be doing these stupid videos. You'd be sitting in a concrete room trying to figure out how to say, I'm sorry, in Russian. It's wild how people like Jane Fonda love throwing around words like autocracy and fascism, but they don't understand them. They don't mean what you think they mean. Or you understand them perfectly and you're just using them incorrectly on purpose because you have an agenda. Either way, you suck. You're not oppressed because late night TV changed its lineup. And Jane, while we're talking about real things that are not real, maybe start with your reflection. You spent decades reconstructing your face, trying to outlast time itself. Age gracefully. Because right now your face is as fake as your love for this country. All right, let's go ahead with it. The View. I just can't with these cackling hens. I feel like I could do an analysis episode of every episode that they do every day. I could just do a View wrap up from my point of view, and I'd have plenty of material. It is the daily therapy session for menopausal women who think feelings equal facts. All right, so Pete Hegseth, in case you don't know who that is, that would be the United States Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. He gave a speech to a room full of top military leaders with a simple message. The military should be physically fit, disciplined, and merit-based. Sounds good to me. Well, not for the coven of crows at The View. Take a look.
Pete Hegseth spoke to U.S. military leaders from around the world to lay out his very retro vision for our armed forces. What?
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department. It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
The optics were terrible, meaning all of our top military brass are all in one place, and we spent $6 million to get them there. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. It also didn't make a lot of sense to me that he was saying that he was going to toughen physical standards and review the anti-hazing policy by sort of implementing a hazing policy. And then also he said he was going to return to the highest male standard for combat positions because the troops were fat. I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
He was referring to Colonel Sanders.
It was really a bizarre thing. He started talking about woke DEI policies.
All right. Let's stop there. $6 million for a leadership summit. And that's one of the things that Sonny's crying about here. These are the same people who shrugged off trillions in government waste, but suddenly they're fiscal conservatives when it's about strengthening the military. Sonny Hostin says we shouldn't have spent the money bringing the nation's military leadership together. Sonny, that $6 million probably came from the loose change we saved when this administration stopped funding things like government-funded studies testing how long shrimp can run on tiny underwater treadmills. Or how about that taxpayer-funded research project measuring social bonding during Jell-O wrestling events? Jell-O wrestling events. And both of those are 100% true. I looked them up. I didn't believe it. So spare me on bitching about funding our military leaders coming together. Then she says she didn't like Pete saying that troops need to be toughened up on physical standards. Excuse me, that's the military. It's literally the one place in society where fit isn't an insult. It's a requirement. You don't send soldiers into combat who can't climb a fucking wall or sprint 30 yards. That's not inclusive. It's negligent. Then comes the best part. She calls higher fitness standards hazing. That's not hazing, Sonny. It's just called training. There's a difference between a push-up and a personal attack. She does not understand how Pete's message was supposed to be uplifting. It's not supposed to be uplifting, Sonny. It's supposed to be motivating. The military isn't a daycare for adult toddlers. It's a fighting force. And of course, at the end there, I stop it. They sprinkle in the DEI buzzword talk. I spared you the full rant. Because nothing says strong defense like hiring based on checkboxes instead of competence. The entire point of a merit-based system is survival, not social validation. And somewhere in there, God, Joy Behar tried to land a joke about Colonel Sanders, and that was a fail. Was that her? Did she ad-lib or did her writers text it to her and say, I like this? Either way, it was terrible. Shut up, Joy. That's the view in a nutshell. Emotion over reason. Identity over merit. And outrage over outcome. They can twist anything into victimhood. Even soldiers being told to stay in shape. All right. I cannot believe this next dude is truly in consideration for the Democratic Party ticket in 2028. Gavin Newsom, the human embodiment of a smirk and a hair product endorsement. So my colleague, as I call him, Joe Rogan, calls him out pretty accurately, by the way. He says nobody trusts Gavin Newsom because how could they? You can't you can't ruin a city and then ruin a state and then expect people to hand you the keys to the country. He calls him a bullshit artist and says that he did horrible things like vaccine mandates for children. Check it out.
They don't have any faith in Gavin Newsom.
Oh, yeah.
It's just kind of funny because he wants to be president so bad.
That's true what it looks
But
like.
you can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice.
I know.
Once I get it as a president, I'm going to fix it. Fix it all.
I mean, it's so crazy, but he's such a great politician. I mean,
No,
he's
not.
so smooth.
He's
You
not,
don't think
though.
so?
No, I think he's terrible.
How's
It's
he
just
remained in
'cause
power
he
for
has
so long?
Low competition. There's no one who's
there's
good
that.
is competing against him.
I
There's
guess
no
I
sincerity.
should say he's not a good. I should say he's smooth. He comes.
I
across
mean,
pretty
he's
smooth.
a good bullshit artist.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But it's like what the things that he says when he gets confronted with things. We're the highest this and the highest that. Like everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
You have the highest unemployment.
Yeah.
You have the highest homelessness.
Look what they did with Hollywood. You had-
money's missing. You killed Hollywood.
I
Like
know.
Hollywood doesn't exist anymore. It's literally gone.
That was such
you
an easy one.
mandated vaccines for kids that didn't need them. You guys, you did horrible shit.
Everything that Joe says seems to check out with me. So, of course, Gavin fires back on this post, calls Rogan a chicken with a chicken head emoji, no less. Governor of our state of California, ladies and gentlemen. He calls him a chicken for not having him on his show, and then unloads his favorite talking point list. This is the same list that he probably rehearses every morning in front of the mirror while applying all that hair gel. Gavin, you brag about California being the 4th largest economy in the world. You always say it. But it's just a population trick. That ranking is based, just so you know, I'll teach you something. It's based on gross state product, GSP, the total dollar value of everything produced in the state. But it does not account for cost of living, the highest in the U.S., the poverty rate, also amongst the highest, out-migration, over 800,000 people left in just 2 years, homelessness, by far the highest in America percentage-wise. In other words, yes, California produces a lot of money, but it costs even more to live there. It's like bragging about having a massive paycheck when you're drowning in debt. And by the way, roughly half of that world-class economy comes from tech, Silicon Valley, entertainment, Hollywood, and agriculture, Central Valley. Small businesses and the middle class are getting crushed, not doing well, under regulation and taxes, while billion-dollar corporations keep your GDP numbers artificially high. The 4th largest economy headline hides the truth. Most Californians are not benefiting from that. A big economy doesn't mean a healthy one. Quit using that. Let's talk about the rest of your list. Number 1, in manufacturing. You're also number 1 in manufactured homelessness. Number 1 in tech. You're number 1 in the people leaving the state to actually build something. Number 1 in farming. Sure, if we're counting the political money you harvest from Silicon Valley donors. You've got 40 million people. Of course, the numbers are big. Try it per capita and watch how fast these rankings fall. And this one really gets me. The last one you put on here. I don't know if that was on purpose. Number 1 in public higher education. People hear that and they believe it. And it's pure bullshit. In what metric, Gavin? Prestige? Research output? Because when your transfer system is a labyrinth, when students get stuck for years, when funding keeps shrinking, being number 1 in a ranking doesn't mean you're winning in real life. You're twisting words again, Newsom. Sure, some UC campuses headline high in rankings, but the system as a whole is a mess. Students are stuck, funding cut, equity lagging. Number 1 does not mean what you want it to mean in your argument. The truth is, California is bleeding residents, jobs, and credibility. People are running from your state faster than you're running from responsibility. I know. I'm in Texas and Dallas, and they're all coming here. They're pissed. Joe was one of them. Joe's now in Austin, and he left California because it sucks. And it's sad because California is gorgeous. It's beautiful, and it's got all this potential, and it's just... You cannot fix crime by redefining theft. You can't fix poverty by taxing the middle class into extinction. And you can't brag about prosperity when half your citizens can't afford to live there. So when Rogan does call you a bullshit artist, he's being polite. You call him a chicken, but the only thing you've cooked is California. You like that one? All right. And finally, let's end. This one's hard because of slight feelings. Emma Watson, Hermione Granger herself, the girl many of us had a harmless crush on. Sassy, sharp, adorable, and honestly, if she just stayed quiet, my crush would have assuredly remained. To her credit, she's mostly stayed out of the spotlight the past few years, probably after the public spat. I think it's still ongoing with J.K. Rowling, the woman who literally wrote Emma's career into existence. But here's Emma back now, and apparently she's here to give the world a vocabulary lesson. Roll it, boys.
It's such a violence and it's such a cruelty on people, and especially young people, I think, and especially women, to make them feel like they have no worth or like they haven't succeeded yet in life because they haven't forced to its culmination something that I just don't think can or should ever be forced.
She's still adorable, that's for sure. I had some feelings stirring there, not gonna lie. In case you didn't know, she was talking about marriage and being a mom. But did you hear? Violence, cruelty, no worth. It's the new standard for self-expression. Take a personal discomfort and inflate it until it sounds like trauma. Emma, baby, nobody's forcing you or any young lady to get married. Nobody's telling those women that they're worthless if they don't. You're describing these personal insecurities and projecting on everybody else. Supporting marriage, family, commitment, none of that implies that people who don't want those things are broken. It's called a choice. And ironically, that's what feminism used to be about. But now it's language inflation, turning everything into oppression. Calling marriage violence isn't empowerment. It's emotional cosplay. It gives people who already want to feel victimized another script to read from. There are women out there who want to be wives and mothers, who find purpose in that. Are they wrong? Are they pressuring you simply by existing? That's the trap of this new rhetoric. If someone feels differently than you, they must be part of the system. This is not progress. It's narcissism dressed as insight. Emma, sweet Emma, if marriage feels violent to you, I heard you might be getting married. Anyway, if it's violent to you, then the problem isn't the institution. Maybe it's the way you see the world. Because when words like violence and cruelty lose all real meaning, that suffering stops mattering. Real suffering stops mattering. And that's the damage. I'm sorry to have had to scold you like that, Emma. It was harder on me than it was on you. All right. I'm tired of watching people hijack the English language just to weaponize it. They've turned words into shields, slogans, and smokescreens. Anything to avoid accountability. They call free speech hate. They call discipline violence. They call disagreement oppression. They've built an entire culture on labeling instead of listening. Because once you label something, you don't have to understand it. You just get to hate it. And the more they distort language, the easier it becomes to manipulate people who don't know any better. You can't think clearly when every word has been redefined to make someone else feel safe. Truth doesn't care about your vocabulary. It doesn't bend to your narrative. And pretending everything you don't like is dangerous doesn't make you morally superior to anybody. It makes you delusional. We've reached a point where feelings are fact and reality is offensive. But here's the thing. Words still mean something. And they always will. They can't change that, no matter how hard they try and how desperate they get. So join me in all of this. I need all of you guys. Every one of you who watches and subscribes and likes and does all the things to help. You mean the world to me, and I appreciate it. We have to push past this blip on the radar. So follow, spread it a little bit. Tell one person to come check it out, subscribe, and I'll keep blasting all of these people for all of our sakes. So stay real, stay informed, stay ready, stay in the fray. Love you guys.
All you gotta do is just listen up.